that in February 3rd, 1943, the SS Dorchester, American warship, was sunk off Greenland. There were 900 passengers, soldiers on board, out of which 600 perished, and the rest survived. Among those that perished were 4 chaplains. This medal was given to President Reagan, I think Carter, and Nelson Mandela, among others, and I received the same award. And for every year, 75 years, they have ceremonies on February 3rd in all the VA hospitals and elsewhere, wherever there's an American outfit or military base, memorializing that event. I participated in about 50 of these annual events. Many times we were on the ship. We took out 4 chaplains. We went out into the sea, off the Gulf, wherever, and we dropped a wreath and we had prayers. And because of this, and because of my involvement with interfaith work and so on, I received this award. And what the story is that they help give out life jackets. They help sailors, soldiers get onto these ships. And when they ran out of life jackets, these 4 gave their life jackets to other people, and they went down, and the witnesses said they saw them as the ship was about to go down. They saw the 4 chaplains praying together. It was the greatness that American Jews, among others, have given to help make this country free and independent and strong. And I have a story that I tell about why I became a rabbi. A rally in the Madison Square Garden in New York. And the rally was to call attention to the fact that Jews were being killed in Europe. And me and my father, Rabbi Schiff, were standing outside. There was no room inside, and they had loudspeakers. And they're calling out numbers. 1,200 Jews were killed in this city, 900 in this city. Numbers that were shocking. Until then, we didn't know about it. We heard different things, but we didn't know anything about it. And for the first time that I could remember, I saw my father crying. And I said, "Papa, was weinst du?" And he said, "My kind, sie reden wegen unserer Mishpacha." They're talking about our family. Sie hagelen die Jiden. So wird nicht ein mehr kein Jiden auf der Welt. And I said to him, "Tate, sorg sich nicht. Ich will wachsen auf, will ich become a Rav, and I'll take their place." And I said that as a kid, 12, 13, whatever I was. And I always kept that in mind. When I came to Miami, 1958, 62 years ago, there was an organization called the New American Social Club, all survivors. None of them had mishpacha here. They became each other's mishpacha. They met in my shul. I was a rabbi in Congregation Bethel. We had Yom HaShoah, we had Kristallnacht. I did their bar mitzvahs, their weddings, their funerals. So I became their rabbi. And then when they built a Holocaust memorial, and again, in remembrance of my promise to my father, when they built a Holocaust memorial on Miami Beach, I was on the board, the original board, and I also was the chairman at one point. And Norman Brayman asked me to join the board. And I felt, again, my duty, my promise to my father, and I was glad and been part of helping to teach people about what happened with the Shoah. So I feel, as each Jew should feel, that we were blessed and saved and spared from this terrible Shoah. We have an obligation to make up for it, to earn that reward by helping spread the word that it should never happen again. I was interviewed by New York Times once, and the interviewer said, "We're writing an article about the diminishing Jewish population in Miami." At one time, the numbers were falling. So I said, "You may have diminishing numbers, but let me tell you, when I came here, there was one kosher restaurant. There was no Jewish high school. There was just one mikveh, and so many other things that we didn't have here. Now we have about 5 or 6 mikvahs. We have a neighbor of many places in the community. We have 50, 60, 70 kosher restaurants. We have shuls, we have rabbis of all kinds. This has become an epic center of Jewish life. And that we saw the growth, and I'm so proud that I was part of that development and growth. Yeah, I was president of the Rabbinical Association of Greater Miami, which has 100 rabbis, Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. And I've been the executive vice president from 1964 to 2006, 40 years. Now, people ask me my background. I say, I got smicha from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, one of the great rabbis of the time. And I got a papal medal from Pope Benedict XVI. So I have a wide scope of my involvement in this world. And I'm proud of being part of the community. We have estimated the second highest survivor population in the country next to New York. The survivors are an interesting group. They were isolated, they know each other, and they're really on the outside of the community, not really an integral part of the community. But over the years, and especially with the advent of the Holocaust Memorial, which we built in the 1990, and docents, survivors, come to the memorial and they teach children. They go into schools. We are fortunate we have a law, a Florida law, I think we're the second country next to New York, that passed a Holocaust survivor law, which makes Holocaust studies mandatory in the schools. So the public schools, other schools, they have to do their duty. That's a requirement. So they come to our memorial. We have, thank God, we have some living survivors, and I take them around a lot of times so that we're able to spread the word to the schools. I developed a program myself for the last couple of years. I get to meet consul generals of different countries. I have about 15 or 20 consul generals. I take them to the memorial. I show them around, and they get to learn about the memorial. Many of them never heard or didn't know much about it. And then they become part of our community, and we invite them. They come to our Yom HaShoah and the Kristallnacht. And we have like 10 or 15 come, they would take a picture of them, and it spreads the word. They report back to their superiors how they're involved with the Jewish community. So that's a tremendous asset in our community. One person I'm very close with, unfortunately passed away, Rabbi Meir Abramowitz. And he was a rabbi here in Temple Menorah for many years. He was a chaplain, World War II, and he was in Europe with the DP camps and tells me and tells us about the experience of the Jewish liberators that he worked with, how the Jews who came there and they saw what happened. They were in these camps and they were brokenhearted. They were crying. They couldn't sleep nights when they saw what happened. And it made them so conscious. They came back and they started to tell their story to more people. I think what we feel is the more people that know of the tragedy, the better chance we have to see the fulfillment of those words, never again. I remember I spoke at a Booker T. Washington High School. One of the students says to me, Rabbi, how could I understand 6 million? It's such a vast number, it's hard to get your hands around it. I thought quickly, God was good to me as he always is, and this is what I answered. The Orange Bowl, that was the Orange Bowl before we have the new stadium. The Orange Bowl, let's say the Orange Bowl has 60,000 seats. The Miami Dolphins play 10 games a season in the Orange Bowl. Let's say every game is a sellout. 60,000 times 10 is 600,000. Now let's say they have a sellout, which would never happen. Let's say they have a sellout for 10 consecutive seasons every game. 600,000 times 10 is 6 million. And I saw the astonishment in their eyes, and they began to visualize it. All kids watch football, they watch football games, they see masses in the stadiums, and they see 60 times a full stadium. It starts to make them feel that now they understand how great the tragedy is. The tragedy of the Shoah tremendous. You can't even fathom it, how great the tragedy is. But as great as that tragedy is, it could be even greater if we allow their memory to be swallowed up as though it never happened. That's where we have to keep their memory alive. Yiddishkeit initiative is something that should have been done a long time ago, because the Yiddishkeit has been diminishing. People are forgetting about Yiddishkeit. They're forgetting about the Jewish tradition and the Jewish language and all of the history that has to do with Yiddishkeit. And this new revolution, in a sense, this new forward-thinking program is something that is going to perpetuate the Yiddishkeit values, all that we hold sacred for thousands of years. It's only as we support this important program can we be assured that Yiddishkeit will never disappear. As the Jewish people will never disappear, Yiddishkeit will also never disappear.